Hey guys, Mark Ferrasci with Protect Dog Training. I'm stuck in traffic on a wind-blown day today. We've got a good windstorm going on here in Southern California. It's talking to people all the way in Orange County that are talking about it. We have a recorder, the Santa Ana winds. That's Santa Ana. It's up against the hillside where Baldy Mountain is at, and it's the pass that goes up and over that everybody uses to go to Vegas. But a real heavy wind that comes in on a normal basis in that area, but now it's stretching all the way up and down the coast here in Southern California. So it's a pretty good one, blowing down lines and doing all kinds of nasty things. So why I'm doing this one right now is because I'm bored and I'm sitting here driving in traffic, so it's easier for me to chat at the screen when I'm sitting here doing my thing. But I wanted to kind of talk about it, and as usual, it's always a subject that's fresh on my mind because I've got clients coming at me or somebody asking me questions and things, so I get a chance to kind of look at it and do the same thing I would if you were a client personally, where I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be giving you information and then evaluating the dog and evaluating the customer. Keep in mind that a professional trainer, that's what we do. A lot of times, a lot of people coming to me online that want to get together online and do the FaceTime or Face Chat and get online and be able to have me explain how to solve a problem. In that regards, I don't like it as much because I can't use my instincts. Okay, a lot of what drives me is my instinctual ability to read a dog, to be able to get in tune with that animal, and then even more so to take that a step further and to get in tune with the customer and the dog and their relationship, because a dog is a product of two things, and I've said this a lot of times: his environment and his breeding, genetics. Okay, he is who he is as far as the breed of dog he is, and his genetic propensities that are established from a breeding stock. Okay, an example of that when you get into genetics, and I want to get into the subject more as we go along so that the layman and the uneducated customer out there can start to understand this. Even though I have, let's say, my Dutch Shepherds, and I am telling you that my Dutch Shepherds wouldn't be a dog that I'd want to sell to the general public because he has got the propensities and the genetic stamp that are very strong, that have been bred for military and police application. And believe me, they are doing this. They've been doing it since 9/11. Getting more tenacious dogs to be able to handle the job that they need to handle in a war footing or in a police setting where the dog has got more tenacity and more aggression towards his job and more drives towards the job of taking a man down. Okay, so me being a little bit more experienced than most, this is what I'm into. I want a dog that really does his job. But is that going to be good for the general public? Okay, no, because the general public, to be honest with you, from what I see and from what most dog trainers will tell you, they're going to tell you that the pet quality customer, the pet dog customer is where they're going to make their bread and butter. It's where they're going to make their money because there's more masses of regular people. But most people in our society are living a lifestyle, and your lifestyle dictates what you're doing with that animal. You go to work every day, you bust your butt at work, you bring in the dollar, you come home, you're tired at the end of the night, and you really don't want or need a dog that's going to be a high drive working dog. You want a couch potato. Okay, that being the case, is my dog going to be the type of dog that's going to be applicable to what you want? No. Okay, because I'm into getting into dogs that are high drive and working dog caliber that are going to be able to meet the street or be an executive protection dog for someone that wants something that's going to be able to do the job. Okay, now I've said this before. What is that criteria? Okay, what I'm after is I'm after a dog I can take any place with me. He's friendly and fine. But if I tell him to eat you, he's going to do his job, okay, because of conditioning, because of training. But also I need the genetic stamp to be able to go with that. So I need a dog that's going to be able to do that. In a general sense, I wouldn't want a show dog because show dogs don't have that propensity as much. Do they get out there and get Schutzhund titles? Yes, they do. They usually take a lot more work, and I always tell people that have, let's say, a show German Shepherd that is out there getting a title in Schutzhund, or an IGP is what they call it nowadays, that I admire and respect the hell out of them. The reason that is because it took a lot more work to go against the grain and to get that dog to go through the motions to do the job of getting that title in a Schutzhund title. And because of the dog's genetic stamp, he's not a working dog caliber. When you have police departments, you have police officers, they go to Europe and they import a lot of these dogs over, and they're breeding for the propensities that needed to take that man down on the street and really do the job. that's required, whether in nose work, or most departments are looking for dual purpose dogs nowadays because they want to maximize their dollar. It could cost them a certain amount of money to get that dog on the street. If he can do the job of sniffing out drugs and sniffing out bombs and be able to be apprehension, to go out after the bad guy and find the bad guy in a building or whatever, we call that a dual purpose dog, okay? So that type of dog is what they're after. So we're talking genetic stamps, and I want to get into the subject a little bit later along the line as we do these videos and talk about genetic stamps, okay? Genetic stamps means that that dog has propensities to do certain things based on what he's been used for, okay? So in other words, if he's a Schützen dog and he comes from Germany, that sport has a lot of sleeve and a lot of equipment orientation, okay? They work on it, they're talking about grips, the dog biting to the back of his mouth. A lot of these propensities are genetically stamped over time because that's what they're doing with the dog, okay? For years, we've bred dogs for a purpose, all right? Nowadays, that is going to get ruined as far as I'm concerned because of what's happening here in America and in Europe, where they're getting into all this rescue, okay? And it's admirable. You want to save a dog. Your heart goes out to these animals. But in reality is, I would never suggest to my customer to go to the rescue and get a dog to fulfill a job. And there's two reasons for this. One, the biggest reason is because he's usually screwed up by the time he gets there. Because I work with a dog at 8 weeks of age and up, and even younger, with a lot of different imprinting that I do with those puppies to get them to be very strong in the job that they're going to turn out to. And then I'm relying on the genetic stamp to be a part of that as well. Okay, so I need a dog with a very high drive and have a good propensities to do the job that I'm looking for. At the same time, environment matters. Okay, so what is that? That's my theory, and this is again something I'll tell you again and again. A dog is a product of two things: his environment and his breeding. You are his environment. Okay, you mold, you shape, you form that dog to end up being the end result that you want in that animal. Okay, so that is 60% as far as I'm concerned. 40% is genetics. Now you'll have breeders that get to be knowing their dogs, and they will tell you that genetics plays a bigger, larger role. So they would probably go opposite of that. They would say 60% genetics and 40% environment. I disagree. I'm not a breeder as much. I've been training my whole life, so I know what I can do when I take that dog at a young age and mold and shape and overshadow and overcome certain propensities with a lack of genetics, okay? But, so that being the case, keep that in mind, that's why I don't really go into rescue. Another thing is I'm a very frank and honest person. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel, especially if you come at me and you're looking for a dog to do a certain job. And I evaluate you and I evaluate the dog and I say, okay, this person wants, let's say, search and rescue, okay? And the dog doesn't qualify for that job because the dog's genetic stamp, it causes them to be not worthy of that, or because you've screwed the dog up already with your environmental and the dog's already so wound up in the wrong directions that it wouldn't be a good choice for a search and rescue. Or a service dog, as an example. These things require a certain type of demeanor out of the animal that require a high gauge of work. Search and rescue, man, there's a lot of work that goes into that. It's a major lifestyle, and they want to climb a ladder and to get their dogs to do the job that they need them to do. And if you're going out and you start with a dog that really doesn't qualify, you're doing a disservice to yourself, you're wasting your time, and you're putting a lot of pressure on an animal that's much better suited to be in a different situation. So, back to the breeding. Rescue is going to cause a problem over time because now they're demonizing the breeders. The breeders are the ones that have all the knowledge and really putting a lot of work in picking their genetics and breeding a breed line that's going to fulfill a purpose, okay? When you have rescue dogs, the dog has not been bred for a purpose, all right? For hundreds of years, I would almost say thousands of years, we have established all these different breeds: Labradors, Retrievers, Pointers, working dogs of all types of class and type that fulfill a purpose, okay? And their genetic stamp has been put together because of what they've done all the time, doing the jobs, doing the work, which will cause the dog to have a genetic stamp in his psyche, believe it or not, when they come out as a puppy. I'll give you a good example of this. Rocky used to go out crazy on his bull. I never taught him to do it, but if it was upside down in his kennel, he would bark at that bull all day long. Where did that come from? KNVP and their box search, okay? Arrow, my Dutch Shepherd, he wants to push himself into a bush to go to the bathroom. And I was convinced that it was because his owner taught him how to do this. Well, I think that's not totally true anymore. Buddy, his puppy, Buddy does the same dang thing. And I've never pushed him to go off the trail or go into a bush. He just does it on his own. It's a genetic stamp. It's there. And as you get around dogs more and more, you start to see more and more of these genetic stamps. So that's what I'm trying to get across to you, is that when you buy a dog, that dog has propensities based on his genetic stamp and who he is within his breed and who he is within his bloodlines, within his genetics. I would not want to sell my dog to the general public. I don't think they're a very good pet. They're going to end up having problems. They're going to wind up about a year old, 2 years old, and you're going to end up taking them to the pound and have them put down, because they're probably going to go towards the direction of aggression, okay? So that doesn't mean that the Dutch Shepherd that somebody else has isn't out there breeding softer Dutch Shepherds with a lot less drive that eventually will take over, and that dog's still a Dutch Shepherd, still has the color, and he might be a better pet quality. So look at that when you're looking at your breeders. What is he breeding for? What kind of dogs does he have? What am I willing to deal with? So it's very important. So you need to make a judgment based on that when you're buying a dog. If you've already got the dogs, then you're stuck with what you got, and you need to overshadow the genetic stamp and put in the work that it takes to overshadow it, to get it to mold and shape away from those negative propensities that the dog might have. I'm dealing with that with Buddy right now as an example. Buddy is very sharp and could end up being a major problem in the wrong hands, okay? By the time I get done with him, he should qualify for police department or executive protection, but he's always going to be a little bit sharp, and he's going to have these propensities that the owners need, or the handlers need to be aware of. I'll be able to help them with that as much as I can as we go along, but just keep it in mind, the dog is a product of two things: environment and breeding and genetics, and those genetics are dictated by what you're breeding for and the type of dogs that you're getting. So if I was to go out and I wanted the dog with a little less drive, that's what I did with my female. She came from France, and I discussed with the breeder over in France that knows his bloodlines very well, because he's right there on top of everything that's going on in KNVP. The gentleman is from the Special Forces, so his mental attitude is more about having strong dogs that are being bred to do a job on the street. That's what I'm into, so I wanted that, but he knew what Arrow was like. I sent him a bunch of videos, I showed him what the dog's propensities were, and he knows the bloodlines. He researched his bloodlines on Arrow, and he said, I got just the dog for you. And he got me a lot more even-keeled, really nice temperament female to go with him, to take that edge off a little bit. We will see with time. It usually takes 2 or 3 litters, because breeding is like a crapshoot. You can breed and you think you know exactly what you're going to get. Mother Nature will throw you a loop every time, okay? So out of those 10 dogs, let's say you had 10 dogs in a litter, you're going to have 2 or 3 of them that are going to be just like Arrow, okay? And then maybe one that's a little quieter and more sedate. So you're going to pick off of that, and then you keep breeding towards what you're after. Maybe bring in something else in your bloodline, etc. But genetics does make a difference, and it does get stamped in with time with what these dogs are doing in their life, okay? A good example of that is Schutzhund. When you go out for IGP and Schutzhund, they're always talking about grip. And if you get a good Schutzhund dog, he's naturally going to bite towards the back of his mouth, because that's what he's been bred to do, okay? That's the propensity they want within the sport. So it's dictated in that. So I'm going to get off of here. We're talking too long. I'm almost at my spot to get off the freeway and go to the client. Have a good day. It's me yakking at the string, talking about something you may be interested in. If you'd like to know more, if you like different subjects, go ahead and give me a yell. We'll see if we can cover something in our videos. I'll talk to you later. Have a good day. Mark Ferrasci, ProTech Dog Training. On the way to a client. Bye-bye.